Recording started.
Talk shoes. Recorded live.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be across the nation or around the world. Once again, you're listening to VMware Communities Roundtable Podcast. This is podcast number 635. My name is Eric Nilsson, and with me today I have my favorite co-host, Corey Romero. Corey, today's Wednesday, February 15th, 2023. How you doing?
Doing well. I'm actually going to make sure I share this recording with Matt, just to let him know that I am the favorite co-host. I'm doing well, Eric. The weather here has been nice in Utah. We haven't had much snow, a little bit last night. And other than that, heads down on the VExpert program, just a lot of work to do.
Oh, awesome. Well, I know it's beautiful weather here in California. We finally reached into a little bit of the pre-spring stuff. So it's been sunny, warm, in the 60s, but sun. So it feels like it's the 70s, and the rain is still dribbling here and there. So the reservoirs are still filling up. The reservoirs are almost full. So I'm super excited about that. The mountains are green. It's classic springtime California, even though it's still pretty chilly. On the show today, it's going to be a great show. I'm really excited. We're going to talk about Horizon and the healthcare industry, Horizon cloud offerings. So we've got Enrique Estrada and Riley Bowie here on the show today to talk about what's happening with healthcare, Horizon, and the cloud. So it should be fun to talk a little bit about the cloud mix. I'm excited about that. But before we get to these, our guests, Corey, let's talk a little bit about the news. I'm excited about Explore. So the dates of Explore are nailed. The contracts are signed for both the U.S. and Europe. Everybody's excited about it. Broadcom's excited about it. We're excited about it. Who knows when we're actually going to get the sale through? I don't know anything about that, but I would say that everybody's excited about the community stuff. We've had community briefings going on with the champions, with VExperts, and with VMUG. We're going to have one big community area at the event this year, right? We're not going to have separate areas, so everybody will be together, whether it's the VMware Code booths, whether it's the VMUG booths, or whether it's the champions booth, and even Vanguard's going to come over into the big area. So we should just be rocking this year. So I'm pretty excited about that. I know you're busy, heads down into VExperts. And I got to ask you, I know this is the first year that we didn't grandfather you in because COVID's over. You guys as VExperts can get out and be evangelizing again. What's your thoughts on all this?
Yeah, my thoughts were, since we did the auto approval, we did see a lot of drop off. We're actually going to see probably about 50% reduction of the program. But what we've got planned this year is I'm doing a call with everyone who's declined to kind of go over and see if we can get people up to speed. We're going to have some VExpert pros on the call as well. From various countries. So if there's language barriers or issues, we can cover that as well. But we really want to focus with the VExperts who didn't get the award, or the applicants who didn't get the award, on what they can do to kind of step up their game. And make sure they get that award. What qualifications can they have? What blog articles, what topics, various things that we're going to cover in the call. I've had some extensive conversations with the VExpert pros who've done the voting, and I've made the decision to leave the decisions where they're at, and then just work with the people to bring the level of evangelism up in the program.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think we get grandfathered everybody for a couple of years. But now it really comes down to, hey, you got to earn it now to get back in here. So if you're one of these guys that have said, I've been in it for 7 years straight, and you didn't apply this year, or you didn't get your apps in, or your apps have been pretty light, you might be in for an awakening of sorts.
Yeah.
And I feel sorry for you, Corey, because I know what this is going to mean. You're going to get 300 escalations once you announce why am I not in it? What happened? Right. So all right.
They won't flood your email, Eric. They come into the appeal process in the application. So it makes it much easier. It's just a one click into the app and then make a decision and then send feedback right from the app. So
so you can just take your mouse and drag across all the people that complain, and then say click, and they all get an automatic. Corey is in Hawaii on vacation. Right?
Yeah, and we did see a lot of vExperts, seasoned vExperts. I mean, I think the highest amount I saw was 11 years with just a real light application with almost no work. So we want to focus on bringing that up.
Yeah, hey, it's a multi-cloud world these days, and there's a lot of cool stuff you could be talking about, and VMware's in there. So let's get to multi-cloud and Horizon and our guest, Riley Bowie. We'll just say hello to you. You are a product marketing manager. So why don't you introduce yourself? We'll do both you and Enrique, but let's start with you. We start with a community podcast because we are a community podcast and we're a big community. Tell us a little bit about how long you've been working at VMware and what does your career arc look like so far?
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Thank you, Corey. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Riley Bowie. I'm on the product marketing team for Horizon and the end user computing group. I have been here for almost 1 year, coming up in May. Previously, I just graduated with my master's from Cal State Long Beach. I was studying business. And before that, I was at UCLA studying English. And during my time in my master's, I was working at Northrop Grumman, doing a lot of operations work, working cross-functionally with some engineers and designers.
Nice. And I see that Kripa is on the chat here, which means you must know Kripa from the work over in end user computing.
Yeah, she's like my little work bestie. I talk with her every day. I think we're chatting on Slack right now. She has such great advice on like social media and marketing, all from like expertise on your team. And
all right, well, we'll do a shout out. We'll do a shout out to Kripa. Great to have both of you guys around. Enrique, why don't you give us the same thing? Elevator pitch. Your career is probably a little bit longer, so tell us what you've done.
Are you calling me old? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
First of all, yeah, thanks for having us on the show. Nice to meet you, Eric and Corey. Yeah, Enrique Stratton, Senior Director of our Healthcare and Life Science business. So really focused on solutions. So what we do is really work closely with our partners, our business unit partners as well internally, and with customers, develop solutions that make sense for them, right? What problems are we trying to solve? We're looking at market transitions, and essentially, how do we make better solutions that meet the impact of healthcare?
Yeah, it's pretty neat. I have a friend of mine that I do work with, an engineering guy. I've known him for 20 years. He's a software engineer, and he works for he was at a startup in healthcare doing iPad apps, right? And then he got bought by another company that then ended up, and now he's bought by like a 20,000 employee big healthcare. And I don't know the name. I won't say it here because I just don't remember it. But it is interesting to see how the healthcare automation really has transitioned from maybe a PC on a rolly cart to now mobile devices and device management and at scale too, because the healthcare industry has consolidated over the years. There's no longer small doctors' offices, or at least I can't find them. Now they go to PAMF Medical, which is a big giant building with and it's all automated and it's all at scale. So it is interesting how the healthcare industry in general has consolidated into scale, and then IT solutions with many different devices and the digitization of all your healthcare records in a real sense has turned into a whole industry that then, VMware has specialized, marketing groups and product solutions architects to go after. So how long has VMware been in this space?
Sure. Riley, would you like to go, or you'd like me to chime in?
You can chime in.
Sure. So, I mean, we've been around, obviously, big announcements all over social media. We hit our big 25-year mark. So, traditionally, we've been selling into all verticals, or all industries, I should say, for over 25 years. It's been more of a horizontal play of how we go to market and how we sell our value proposition. But over the years, and if you think about every company needs to continue to evolve that value proposition. And essentially, how do you drive new lines of business with what you do and the products that you sell? So we really took I would say, a very structured approach over maybe 2 or 3 years ago to really focus on developing verticals. So today we have verticals around retail, financial services, and healthcare, as well as telco. And then where Horizon comes into play is that it very much is our flagship product at VMware, one of our flagship products. And what that allows us to do, going back to your point with the gentleman that you're referencing with the iPads, if you think about what we've done at the enterprise level, it's not only just supporting the enterprise and the clinical workflows, because Horizon does a fabulous job of encapsulating different types of business applications, clinical and non-clinical, and being able to engage people. So obviously in healthcare, clinicians and access to EHRs is super, super important. But also going back to the iPad reference you mentioned, we have a lot of mobile device management we do today, and that's used to engage patients. So it's not just about the hospital enterprise, it's also about the patient engagement and how you are able to kind of make sure that that fabric that we provide stitches across both of those experiences, both at the patient side, at the clinical side, and even at the enterprise side with business applications.
I know that when talking to the experts and talking to the community, VMUG members, whatever, and I ask, oh, where are you from? Where do you work? You would be surprised how many hospital IT we actually get, or, people that are in the healthcare industry in the hospitals running hospital IT, right? Because, hospitals need IT, records are confidential. You need all of this. You have to keep it all backed up, and it's virtualized. It went virtualized. Some of the big community members got their cut their teeth in hospital administration, running IT data centers. How is that migrating into the cloud? Is cloud starting to penetrate this, just like everywhere where you want to save money, get out of the keeping machines running, power backups, all that kind of stuff? Where are we as the industry, starts to absorb cloud?
Yeah, I could tackle this one. So with Horizon Multi-Cloud Solutions for Healthcare, three of our main solutions are: one, empowering healthcare staff and patients for a better user experience. Two is reducing costs and modernizing the infrastructure, reducing TCO. And lastly, it's securing patient data with compliance. So especially with the last one, I think that's really important with keeping patient information and data secure. And this is all done through end-to-end security with VDI and app delivery.
I see. So what I was looking for is, like, when I know that, we've had vSphere, in the healthcare in vertical, like there. I guess the question is, when has cloud started to, weave its way into our solutions there?
Sure. I'll dovetail off of what Riley said. So, we have, I would say, 3 North Stars right now. And this is all out in the public domain, right? We are super focused on the multi-cloud journey across all industries, and user compute, which Riley absolutely does an amazing job of helping us drive that. And by the way, the work that the business unit has done, and Riley's been extremely helpful with us and partnered up with us, is helping tie that story of Horizon to the multi-cloud connection. And then the other part is modern applications. So those are the 3 North Stars we're super focused on. When you think about, going back to your question, when did this start? Well, we've really cut our teeth. If you look at the past 25 years, we were kind of focused around our main value proposition on virtualizing the data center. Just like everything, right? You need to continue to evolve your value proposition. And what we started to see over the past, I would say 5, 6, 7 years is obviously the cloud, right? As that became more ubiquitous with people moving their applications to the cloud, that reservation, especially in healthcare, took a little while because CIOs were like, no, I'm not going to put my PHI up in the cloud. But we've gone over that hurdle. We've seen the security that's wrapped around the cloud. And so what we've provided is a path to get to the cloud. And it doesn't matter which cloud it is, right? We continue to play this kind of Switzerland role. But that journey started well under 10 years ago. And it's because of the migration that we started to see that people, CIOs in particular, wanted to start moving their workloads to the cloud. I will say this just anecdotally. I think it was I was at Explore. I did a little poll survey, and I asked people, I was like, how many CIOs do I have in the room? And a lot of hands went up with CIOs. And then the follow-up question was, how many of you are going to continue to build out your data centers? And a lot of the hands went down. So that tells you everyone's really thinking about a path to the cloud, right? And the reality is, whether you're a hospital system integrated into, let's say, a vendor community and you're leveraging telehealth or other services, that may reside on one cloud. You may have your EHR deployments on-prem, and you may be using other business applications or your own homegrown applications on a completely separate cloud. So in healthcare, where the relevance of all this comes into play is, if you think about all these different touch points, sometimes it's all triggered off of one patient engagement, right? A patient taking their vitals at home. Like I have a remote patient monitoring kit over my house. That's going over a provision cloud that we partnered up with a telco. That telco is pushing that payload over to a public cloud where that ecosystem partner is running RPM with the clinical dashboard. The rising risk and any alerts or care coordination that's required is being pushed down to the data center. That's the third cloud. So you saw this interaction just across, you see it go across all these clouds just off of one transaction. So, we're really bullish on the multi-cloud strategy for healthcare as well as for the other industries.
Yeah, I got to imagine. I worked at IBM in the early days, and we actually had a doctor's office management package, right? It was like you install it on a machine, and it was a full encompassed package. And there wasn't all the devices, there wasn't all the data from these devices and so it worked where you could run it in a single place in your data center. But now, as the equipment has got more sophisticated, there's data flying. The equipment itself has SaaS interactions that probably pull data back into the cloud, and the complexities of this purchase flow for a customer, a patient, right? Like it just boggles my mind listening to it, because it's like, I think like web transactions, Amazon, or you go to the store, you go to a bank, it's fairly constricted to like my web browser, your web browser, and then your ability to deliver something to, in a van that comes to my house 2 days later. Where in this, and you have the complexity of medical gear that's doing the testing, the labs that are doing testing, that data flow has to come through. And to your point of like, then each one of these might be on different clouds. And so how do you build? Before, it used to be I go to my data center, it was all my hospital wing, and this is how I run. Now it's like this complexity, which then having solutions that actually manage cross clouds, I got to imagine is almost like you got to go there now.
And making sure that the access to it is interoperable, right? And it's not siloed, and that's where the power of Horizon really comes into play, because Horizon, and Riley, feel free to jump in here because you're the expert here, but this is where access to published applications or using it through VDI really becomes a game changer for ensuring that clinicians have access to the tools they need to take care of patients. Riley, do you want to add anything else to that as far as just the role of Horizon?
Yeah, so it's virtual desktops and applications, and so you can access any device at any time, whether it's like a shared mobile device, you can log on and all your things are on there personalized. So it's very effective.
Yeah, I could see, as we now start to, we kind of frame the industry challenge here, right? Which is, look, this is what's actually happening. This is the reality for healthcare providers. And I also look at it as like, when I talk to telcos, also it's equally as complex, because you got these networks and your mobile devices have to move from point A to point B. You got to keep things provisioned. Everything's, and it's all in the cloud because it's all out on the edge in the cloud. So how do you do all that? And it's complex, right? And therefore VMware Solutions actually does well in these environments, as a vertical market. And I think healthcare is that same way. So Riley, when we start looking at the app delivery, right, and we haven't talked a little bit about the third pillar you mentioned, which is modern apps, and how does modern apps start playing into this role of migrating where you've got your workloads. But Riley, when you talk app management, I would assume that fits perfectly from the standpoint of the number of apps that a hospital administrator has to deal with to keep data moving from testing into that. So I see app delivery as an enablement, right? What other things does Horizon bring to the table now as we start to address these solutions?
Well, one new thing is this January, there's published apps on demand that went live with app volumes. And so IT typically deploys on groups of servers to farms or deliveries. And with apps on demand, they can attach it to launch apps with farmless models, reducing the numbers of servers needed for the users and apps. Our product managers may know more about this, but there's a lot of new applications coming live and on our roadmap.
Right. And I could see that, much the way we use it in VMware, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, where it's actually working quite well once you get on the desktop manager, that all my apps are available. And at first I'm thinking it's a pain, but once you get there, then everything just auto signs in, everything works properly, the apps are vetted, it's all secure, and I can actually go to a different device and go get the same environment. And so I've got to imagine that as a hospital IT person, this would come in handy trying to keep track of, the number of apps. Enrique, how many apps do we think an average IT provider would have to keep track of? It's like tens? Is it hundreds?
Hundreds. Riley may actually have better data than I do, but I know there's some hospitals that I've heard as high as 200. But Riley, do you have any just data points on that you're aware of?
I'm not sure about data points, but there have been a lot of case studies that have been out that EUC Horizon has up. There's a healthcare deployment guide that has a bunch of case studies, but I know like your mobile phones, that's the most useful one because it's easy in and out of your pocket. You have your phone, your iPad, whatever it is. So,
Right.
The barrier question on that, Eric, is how many apps out there that you're not aware of, or how many apps out there are just basically haven't been updated and have that security check on them, right? Because there's a lot of apps out there, and the CIOs actually probably wonder about this quite a bit, but how many of them are unpatched or unused? And so I believe, we have some analytics that helps provide some of those insights, both on the mobile device management side with Workspace ONE, which is a great complement to Horizon, but also Horizon has some analytics on that as well.
Nice. Yeah. So, Riley, in your time so far, what's the feedback from the marketplace with regards to adoption, right? I mean, the apps are nice. It's been there. Multi-cloud is nice. It's been there. Do you guys get feedback on, the briefing center? Do customers come in? Are they excited about it? Is it a hard sell, an easy sell? What's your feedback with regard to like when customers start engaging here?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Eric. I think there's been awesome feedback. I think one, because of the big transition in healthcare, everything shifting from physical to remote, like physical retail, and now you can get clinical retail, have your medications delivered to you, and have telehealth. Especially with COVID going on, there's been such great feedback with how useful it's been and how easy it is to get care. You can just log in at home or wherever it is in the world and get that firsthand care.
Yeah, I know that my daughter works at a company doing software for drug delivery now, right? Where it's just kind of like, you just come in now. I can go to my healthcare, go in, and then they automatically send my pills, and my pills show up the next day. I don't have to go to a pharmacy any longer, and so those tie-ins. So the real challenge here is it's all an integrated digital world now, right? From the apps to what's being delivered, from my medicine to my lab reports into the customer care when I'm sitting talking to the doctor. So it is fascinating. Enrique, where do you see VMware fitting in the future? Are there things that we're starting to do to get a better handle on working with our customers together, providing solutions? Where do we see ourselves going in the future?
Yeah, I think the future's bright. I think the future's bright because technology becomes a little bit more and more ubiquitous, and we're seeing kind of this whole evolution of AI coming into it. I think definitely artificial intelligence will have a play here, and we have a really great relationship with NVIDIA too, just on the AI topic, where they're helping us, and we're going to market together on a lot of joint solutions. So I think AI will have a great a great position in helping drive better efficiencies in workflows, stratifying risk with patients, and just making things a little bit more effective. The other area I really believe that VMware has a position for is when we think about healthcare. For me, it's really focused around, are we doing what's right for the patient at the end of the day, right? How are we engaging those patients? How do we make sure that data flows back where it matters and where those workflows or where that data triggers workflows? And we have a piece of technology in all those different layers. Just like when I was giving you the example with the remote patient monitoring kit, the same thing's happening with that similar use case, but for decentralized clinical trials, right? We're seeing a major disruption in life sciences on being able to participate in clinical trials and doing it from the home and being able to use, modern apps locked down in single app mode and having all that telemetry, all those pros being routed over back to those principal investigators where they're also accessing their clinical trial management systems through applications or through technology like Horizon. So for us, we see a tremendous amount of opportunity watching this kind of digital first approach take a wider kind of sweep across all healthcare and life sciences. We're seeing greater adoption, both at the clinical level. We're also seeing greater kind of enthusiasm at the business level to take this digital first approach. And we're excited to be able to be a fabric that does a lot of those things. We also partner. We have a tremendous amount of great partners in our ecosystem that help kind of make those dots connect as well.
Yeah, there's an interesting comment from Tony Foster on in the chat over here where I'm looking on TalkShoe. He mentions that NVIDIA actually does daytime processing, their VDI by day, and then at
AI
night,
by night.
they do it for hospital compute, right? So
yeah, we had the gentleman that actually put that whole solution together at Explore. I believe I'm going to probably mess this up. I think it's somewhere out of the southern part of Ireland. I may have that wrong, but we had the gentleman present at Explore, and it was such an amazing story to hear how they've repurposed VDI and how they have repurposed it for AI, as mentioned in the description, by night, right, and VDI by day. It's a great example of how you take, and leverage existing resources that you've already kind of I would say, a sunk investment in, so to speak, but have invested in, and repurpose those for other things. And so in this case, I believe it was a research center.
Armsford.
Yeah, so it was a research center that they were using the AI portion for. So a great use case. I remember hearing that it took them about 5 years to kind of put this together, where they've taken this now kind of homemade solution and really just driven value and outcomes out of it. So, just really intuitive and ingenuity at its finest for healthcare.
So are the healthcare providers themselves building these apps? Is it SaaS software vendors building these apps, medical research? So he also mentioned that there's like cancer institutes that are doing these type of things, right, in the Netherlands. Yep. Are you selling these solutions to hospitals, medical providers, app business writers? What's the
There's a couple. Riley, feel free to jump in too.
Yeah.
So the big marquee hospital systems, like the big brand hospital systems, absolutely have developers on the bench, and they are building a lot of, what's the digital front door solutions that we hear about quite a bit today, right? That whole patient engagement and experience aspect. So we do see some hospital systems, not many, but very few, that have that big marquee that are building their own,
like Amp Medical in the Bay Area or something like that, where they're like,
Cleveland Clinic, MD Anderson, Kaiser, but So, but on the same token, those same hospitals also partner with third party, what I call their own ecosystem, to actually bring in some of those services. Because, and I can tell you, I came from one of those partners, right, that did that for hospitals, where we white labeled our services, because there is a reality. At the end of the day, you're not trying to build a big IT center. You are a hospital. You are providing some sort of care delivery,
Right.
And that is what you're there for. So if you could leverage an ecosystem that has a lot of these technologies that are turnkey and are ready to go day one, that's what they're doing. So there's a lot of that going on. And then for the most part, we see a very big just overall ecosystem to support life sciences and digital health and just traditional healthcare IT. Riley, did you want to chime in with any of your kind of thoughts on that as well?
Yeah, thank you, Enrique. I put in our like little private chat a case study from.
And I published it in the YouTube chat as well just now. So
Oh, thank you, Eric. Yeah, so there's a lot of case studies. One example is Hartford Healthcare, and here they use Horizon Enterprise for virtualizing their desktops and apps, and it's so helpful with all healthcare staff, whether it's doctors or nurses or even administrative office people. So, yeah, that's our main target is like these big hospital enterprises.
Yeah, I got to imagine that there's a little bit of me that I put two hats on. I put my IT hat on, right, which is, how you automate a hospital, and that's these kind of cases where you have all these applications you need to automate, and Horizon does this. Then I put my medical research hat on, which I run a little CRISPR lab myself, right? So I do gene editing as a hobby, right? And then I go like, oh, the medical apps themselves are actually interesting. The research apps, like getting at that data using AI to look at the trends of what's happening for large customer data sets and trying to figure out what's actually happening with the disease itself. So, and I think we've touched on a little bit of both of those and why VMware has a footprint in both that. And whether you're building the hospital apps using Horizon to do that, and then some of these use cases like this, the Hartford one, where you're really automating the hospital administration, patient administration, and the apps, or whether you're kind of back a step where you're doing research, you're building, you're building medical solutions, right? And the software is part of that solution.
Yeah, and maybe this is a good example just to dovetail off of the case study that Riley shared. With Hartford, it's a great example when you ask like how many people are building stuff or are they using you. That's a great example of us working with our ecosystem. Like, big shout out to Imprivata. They do an amazing job of making sure that identity management and single sign-on is there as part of that workflow. And they've been a great partner, and that's a great example of where the ecosystem that that's part of our overall solution makes a lot of sense for those clinicians that are every day using their EHRs as part of their workflow to access what they need to. And so this just drives greater efficiency when you have the right partners in play.
Yeah, I guess to change subject a little bit here, when we talk multi-cloud, Riley, right? I mean, clearly Horizon is stepping up into as a cloud offering. I know we offer it as a SaaS service from VMware, but then when you talk about multi-cloud, because obviously solutions that we've discussed have to be across multiple clouds because your software apps are on different cloud vendors, right? So where are we going when it comes to multi-cloud? How far are we? Some people think multi-cloud, yeah, it's really all AWS, right? But then no, when you really look at this, there are, especially in these verticals, it's important to be on these different clouds. How are we doing there?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. I definitely want to clarify if people are thinking it's mostly AWS and Amazon, but there's so many. There's Microsoft Azure, there's Google Cloud VMware Engine, known as GCVE. There's Oracle Cloud VMware Solution, known as OCVS. And there's one coming up that I'm doing in March, end of March, for Alibaba Cloud. So there's so many different multiple cloud options that should be more well known other than just AVS. So thank you for asking about that.
Yeah, I think that it's funny because I have a friend who works at Alibaba, and they're always doing marketing around Alibaba services, right? And people don't mention Alibaba enough in the conversation. So it was funny because I was going to throw in a Alibaba comment at the end, but I didn't really realize that we're actually, moving that direction as well.
That's coming up soon, so you'll hear about it maybe in the next month or two.
Right. Yeah.
And all of our deployments can be found on our public webpage underneath VMware.com, Products Horizon, underneath deployments. And there are so many solution briefs out there about the specific ones like GCVE, Google Cloud, or Oracle and Horizon Cloud on Azure. Let me see if I can pull that up as well.
I think it's going to be a good time in the next few years to be sick, right? Because I think the world is actually, the healthcare is actually starting to solve some of these big problems that we've seen. So with gene editing and that, it is actually going to be one of these times where, we've always said this, modern technology is going to eventually solve a lot of health issues. But I actually believe this over the next 15 years, this is going to be a space where IT and big data crunching and AI and all of the solutions will actually help you, live to 100 fairly consistently. So I think it's going to be a good spot to be in ourselves. We transition now to and I'll start with you, Enrique, where do you see things going? I get excited and I talk 10 more years, things will change. What do you see happening in either this space that makes you exciting, wanting to go to work every day? What can you put on your projection hat to start talking about?
Yeah, if I just think of, I touched on this earlier. I think the power of machine learning AI is really, really interesting. I'm going to kind of maybe also step out of my VMware, take that hat off for a sec. But I also think there's some really amazing stuff, since we were talking about life sciences and you're talking about gene editing and CRISPR. I mean, stem cell research and 3D printing is a really, really interesting space. And it's kind of, some people might get a little kind of concerned about this, but it's actually, if you think about what we can do with 3D printing organs, stem cell injections, and not, having to worry about a donor in a very critical situation. I think that has a lot of promise. There's a lot of startups. There's some here in the Bay Area. Stanford had done some research, or may have been SRI or some group out of Stanford that was really focused on this many, many years ago. But I think there's going to be some tremendous amount of just really interesting stuff that comes out of the life science and pharma space.
That is an interesting thing to mention, right? It is kind of off topic, but I will it does have a digital footprint to it, right? The printing technology of cells, right? And stem cell, being able to then lay down cells that then migrate to the structure that you've laid down and then turn into the organ, and you can literally print.
Or essentially, you start off with the printing and the insertion of the stem cells, but then it becomes you're essentially harvesting organs, right?
Yeah. You're just generally growing an organ on a printed structure, right? And then the stem cells migrate onto the structure and then create the organ, right? And then it'll start beating if it's a heart, right? I've seen some of that. That's pretty interesting. It doesn't have a huge digital footprint, but it does demonstrate that technology will start to, just like silicone became something we could master and print or create, and then all of a sudden you could do more and more, and after 30 years we got iPhones that are supercomputers, right? I see some of the healthcare being in that same space, right?
There's going to be a lot. At the end of the day, so I connect the dots back to VMware now. I'll put my hat back on. So there's a lot of supercomputing going on to eventually do this at scale, right? And so when I think about the future and I think about large volumes of data, storage, AI, a lot of that's going to require a lot of computing power and a lot of resources and a lot of scale. So, if you come back to what we do, that's kind of like right in our wheelhouse.
Yeah, absolutely. And Riley, we did send out, and I'll just mention this, if you want to look at the Horizon use cases in this space, you can go to vmware.com/products/horizon.html, and then just put in #use cases. That'll jump you down to the use case section of that page, I believe, which is usually what a hashtag does, right? So
yeah, definitely. And there you can see supported cloud providers where it says Horizon on VMware Cloud on Dell, Horizon for VMware Cloud on AWS, and on Oracle and Google Cloud. And there you can click Learn More and see the solution brief. And this is all public information. Anyone can look at it. So you can see all the cloud.
I also put it out on the vExpert Twitter, so at vExpert on Twitter. So Yeah, those links are there too.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, Corey.
Yeah. Just for the listeners, it might be easier than the URL either way.
And
Cool.
Tony
Thank you.
Foster, you're over on chat. Maybe you can unmute yourself. I noticed that you are posting in chat a blog about the Netherlands Cancer Institute, VDI by day, compute by night. Is that that's the one, right?
That is the one that Corey tweeted out on the vExpert channel. Yes.
Nice. Okay, so we put that out on chat.
Yeah, and by the way, if for anyone that did register for Explore in Barcelona, if you look up the health track, that recording's up there. If you are a registered VMware, I guess if you have a registration on that Explore session. So it was Barcelona, November 2022. So great presentation.
So Riley, what's next for Horizon? What are you seeing in the future that gets you excited?
Yeah, right now we're updating a deployment guide, which has useful highlights and different considerations for different peripherals and technologies to address specific use cases. It's available on TechZone. I can link it in here. And so I'm writing a healthcare newsletter, which I will include this in. And this will be so helpful. It has specific service offerings, best practices for Horizon deployments, and all different healthcare personas. So this will be published hopefully sometime in March. And then I'll get the newsletter out and link it.
Hey, Enrique, what was the name of that session again?
If you go into the search window on VMware Explore Barcelona and you type my name, you'll see the health tracks, and it's either, I think it was day 2. It may have been day 2 actually. So if you look at the healthcare tracks, you'll see that title in there. But I think you may have to create an account first if you don't already have one.
Great, I will go and find that. And
yeah, it's the same title. It's the same title though as the one that was referenced here on this podcast. So.
Great.
Who are the competition? In the, I'll direct it at Enrique.
Right.
In the vertical,
Yeah.
Who are we going up against?
Do you want to take that, Riley? Or you want me to take it?
I could say one big one is Citrix, and it's always like Horizon versus Citrix, and that's our main competitor. Where there's a lot of Citrix plays that we have, and Citrix competes that our technical marketing can provide more information. But we're identifying like those unhappy customers and hopefully migrating them to the Horizon platform. And
I think I get a mail because I sign up, at various places to get, and I have machines that I run on occasion. And so I get ping Citrix, marketing, do you want to buy a VMware customer list? Because VMware is going to go out of business soon. And then I get vice versa. I get VMware, would you like to buy?
Yeah.
So it's like a battle that's continually going on in that space.
Yeah,
So,
maybe the right way to think about this too is that, we could sit here and focus on one particular vendor all day, every day, twice on Sunday.
I was looking a little higher level on solutions that might go a different direction. Right?
Yeah, I think the difference that we bring, and Riley, feel free to jump in. The difference that we don't spend all our time thinking about Citrix. What we spend all our time thinking about is our customers and the problems they're trying to solve in healthcare. And so, at the end of the day, everyone has a platform, right? You go to any trade show and I got a platform that does X and I got a platform that does Y. Well, I think the highest volume of patents out there is the mousetrap, right? So everybody has a mousetrap. Whose mousetrap is better? I think what makes our approach different and unique and stand out is that when we talk about what we're doing in healthcare, it's very outcomes focused. We don't go in there to sell virtualization or sell VDI or publish apps. You go there to first understand what are you trying to achieve from a population health perspective. Are you trying to reduce your HbA1cs for your population? Are you on this journey from fee-for-service to value-based care? So we absolutely want to have a conversation around those clinical outcomes, those business imperatives. Because at the end of the day, it's easy to work yourself back and know what technology plugs into it. The hard part is trying to understand what the goals are for the business and making sure that we align to those goals. So when Riley, myself, or anyone else in sales is sitting there, yeah, we can do a side-by-side nerd knob comparison, but we'd rather talk to a customer about what are you trying to achieve for your healthcare system. And that's what separates us from most of the competition out there.
Yeah.
Riley, do you want to add anything to that as far as the approach?
I love the way you phrase that, and like just making sure customers or patients in this sense are happy and okay with receiving their health care.
And the BU has been instrumental in kind of making sure. So big thanks to Riley and the folks in the BU, because they've been very receptive to this approach. The sales team is very focused on this approach. And that, again, that's what differentiates VMware from the market.
Corey, I have an answer to who the biggest competitor is, right? Like, I was talking to my wife this morning about this. I'm in perfect health because I just don't go to the doctor. If I don't go to the doctor, nobody tells me anything is wrong. I'm just like, all my numbers are great. I just haven't been to the doctor in like 10 years. So like, I'll be healthy until I die, right? I will be the healthiest person until I drop dead, right?
Because I never go to the doctor.
Right. That to me is the biggest
music.
Yeah, that's the biggest competitor right now, which is why the death rates are up. Nobody wants to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Like, I work from home now. Why bother? Right?
But you make the point. You and Corey make the point, right? We're all patients at the end of the day, right? Whether we choose to use the system that we pay into or not, we're all patients. So the system's there to help us.
I actually end up going to the doctor quite frequently. I have used quite a few of the teleconferences, and they work flawless, right? They work flawless. So.
Yeah, it's just like you're on Zoom and they're asking you questions that you would normally ask in person, and you can just get real-time feedback right there. So it is so helpful.
Right. Now, I know we only have a few minutes left, but before we get to the very end, I did want to mention that I'm going to send both of you email to see if we can set up a meeting just to talk briefly about a vExpert webinar that we can put together. So hopefully we can generate some content through the community about this to spread a little bit more awareness.
Awesome. Thank you, Corey.
Absolutely.
And I did put in chat the Explore link to the session. It was IND 2934 EUR and healthcare workshop. And I published the link directly to the video. So if you do have access, you can go watch that one as well. Yeah. So I think there's competition, Enrique, in cloud-based solutions without VMware. That's always, if you want to get locked into a given cloud, but then the solutions come on these different clouds. So I think even that's hard for any, major institution to do, right? So I'm not sure even how effective that would be.
Yeah, everyone has their own cloud journey, right? So there's some that, choose to stay on-prem. There's some that choose to take the DR route, right? Maybe we're going to do some disaster recovery as part of our cloud journey because that's the lowest risk and that provides a business continuity. And then there's others that say, hey, I want to push all my workloads to the cloud. That's fine. The reality is, you're only locked in if you chose to lock yourself in when you're signing the statement of work and the contract, right? So.
And we obviously haven't talked about the application journey and, how, do you want to rewrite it or do you just want to push it on the cloud? If you're going to push it in the cloud, just leave it in a VM, push it out in a cloud in a VM, put it on VCF and away you go. So that makes sense. And then if you are working on refactoring the app and building it as a modern app, then you have Tanzu conversations.
Yeah.
And or you can go other ways around Kubernetes. So there is all of that complexity, which I think this industry, just like telco, faces a lot of complexity, and so VMware solutions tend to solve for that. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, healthcare is super hard.
Right.
There's nothing easy about it.
Right. The other thing that happens is healthcare moves very slowly, right? Like because it's really important you get it right. You can't just go, oh gosh, sorry, let's reboot the human. It's fine. We messed up, but try again later, right? Like you got to get it right, right? So it does tend to be one of these places that's important to move intentionally, right? So I could see that, right? That and securely, right? So we are almost at the top of the hour, and as always, you can go look at what Enrica and Riley look like by going to youtube.com/vbarbecue. We do live stream. You're probably listening to this on YouTube, on iTunes if you're listening to this at all. But if you want to go look at what Enrique and Riley look like so you can see them, and if you go to an Explore, you might recognize them, go to youtube.com/vbarbecue and give us a like and a follow. And we'll be there. You can see what we all look like. And because we're on V Barbecue, I will, and it is almost lunchtime here in California. We'll start with Enrique. Do you ever eat barbecue? Do you ever make barbecue? Where are you located? What region are you? Because barbecue is different no matter where you're at.
Yeah. So I don't have one single answer, so I'll be super quick. So I live in Sacramento, California. Actually, I live just outside of Sacramento, up in the 916. Favorite food for barbecue? I'm gonna go the ethnic route. I love Korean barbecue. Those spare ribs are so good, thin sliced.
Yeah.
That little Maui style that they have there. And then I'm gonna stick to my roots. I'm gonna go with carne asada, the Mexican style flank steak, thinly sliced, grilled, nice in tacos with a beautiful succulent sauce and some guac over it. So
last Christmas we bought the little stove with the I don't know, little burners on them. That we bought these little pots that that then just have flat surfaces that you can make Korean barbecue on, right? And we bought 2 of them, and we just put them in our kitchen on the marble, and we all crowd around, and then we buy the pre-cut meats, and we just go crazy. There's smoke everywhere, and I'm sure we're killing ourselves with cancer and nitrox oxides and stuff like that. But that's a lot of fun. I think it's the funnest home event that we've got when we have everybody over, and then we just have all this meat and we go crazy.
No one complains about the smoke because it smells delicious, right?
Yes.
Your dogs even like it. So.
Yeah, exactly. We get little bowls of rice, and then we just go crazy, cooking it and eating it all day long till we can't eat it anymore. Riley, I'll hit you with the same question. Where are you located, and do you ever get to make any barbecue, or what's your favorite one?
Yeah, I'm currently in Los Angeles area, and like Enrique, one of my favorites is Korean barbecue. My first job was actually at Buffalo Wild Wings, and I loved the Thai curry. I remember I was a host at B-Dubs, and I always got free wings after my shift, and I love Thai curry.
We just got done with the Super Bowl, of course, and we have a pretty good hot wings recipe. We get the hot wing sauce, and then we use a little baking soda on the chicken wings and dry them. Put baking soda on it, and then fry them up. But we bake them in the oven and then put the sauce on them, and it's pretty good. Speaking of buffalo wings, right? It's great to have. Tony Foster, I'll loop back to you. Anything on the barbecue front?
Yes. So of course, yesterday we all celebrated Singles Awareness Day, also known as Valentine's Day. And every year, my wife and I grill for Valentine's Day, and so we did steak and salmon, and it was absolutely phenomenal. Great way to celebrate Valentine's Day, as my wife says, best grill in town.
Nice.
And no line,
best grill in town. I gotta say, once you start grilling, it's hard to go pay for the grilling. Last and final thing, Enrique, are you on social media? Can anybody follow you? Do you have a Twitter handle, or do you not play that game?
I just got off Twitter, so I don't play the Twitter game anymore, but I am on LinkedIn. So you can follow me on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out, connect, tell us, drop me a note and say you watched the video and listen to the podcast. I'd love to connect with you. So please feel free to reach out.
And Riley, same question. And then where should we point people if they want to learn more? We've obviously been posting the Horizon product pages on the chat, so I suppose that's the answer. But how can people follow you and learn more?
I am also on LinkedIn, so that would be the best way. I don't have any Twitter account, so LinkedIn, feel free to connect, drop a note, and mostly the public VMware Horizon product page, and we'll come up with more blogs like how you found mine on blogs.vmware.com/end-user-computing. So there as
All right.
well.
Sweet. Well, hey, it's been nice spending 55 minutes chatting with you guys. Thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for doing all the hard work you do for our customers. Thanks a lot, Enrique. Thanks a lot, Riley, for being here.
Yeah, thank you all. Are you going to take us out with the little keyboards in there that I see in the background?
Yeah, I got it in the background, but no, not going to do that. Maybe some other time.
Episode 2. All right.
We should add the Eric Music Minute at the end of the podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Now, next time I'll bring my grill, and I'll put the little Korean barbecue grill here. I'll just grill the whole time, and I'll eat some Korean barbecue. That would have been fun.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Riley, Enrique, I did send you mail. I'll set up a 15-minute call with you for next week, and we'll just discuss and then see if we can come up with a time date for a webinar.
Awesome. Thank you both.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you
Thanks a
all.
lot. Again, we'll be back again next week. Until then, go get yourself some barbecue and enjoy the President's Day long weekend coming up.
Yeah. Enjoy.